Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 15-minute study break podcast, where the study break never really ends up taking only 15 minutes. My name is Ivan, and I'm your host for today.
So my name's Zach. I'll also be running this podcast.
Yep.
And I'm Jack, and I will also be one of the co-hosts for this podcast.
Great. Yeah. So every time we will end up rotating hosts, and we'll figure it out before each episode. But yeah, today I'll be hosting this episode regarding college sports. But since it's football season, I guess we'll also focus more on football season. But anyways, how's life, guys?
Pretty well, going pretty well. Just a little bit more about me, I guess. I go to Texas A&M. I'm part of the SEC schools, so football down here is a bit crazy. It's a bit awesome. It's always exciting. So yeah, I'm really excited for the end of football. Texas A&M is doing really great this year. And yeah, it's going great so far.
Yeah, life is great here. I go to Michigan, repping Michigan right now. We're all repping our schools right now, which is pretty cool. But Michigan football, last year we were pretty promising, and I definitely talked more about last year.
Pretty
But
promising.
obviously, not just promising. We went all the way to the end. We got the championship. But this year we're actually getting mean because of the way we were defending our championship, which is obviously not very good. But still, the game day experience is very nice. Just going from tailgating to actually watching the game, analyzing some of the plays, or just trying to get on the jumbotron. They're all like really fun, and hopefully we'll be bowl eligible. But with the next few games coming up, not sure if that's gonna be the case.
Yeah, I
What
think.
do you
Uh,
sorry, Jack, what do you think about the cheating allegations?
I think I think they're nonsense, honestly. I think that's just, hey, who's gonna take the natty away from us?
That's true. That's true.
I think we should rename this episode and say like college sports. It should be like two bad football teams and one good football team.
Yeah.
It's like I
Yeah.
feel like every time I see my team play, like we show glimpses of promise and then it all crumbles in the last few minutes. Like I remember like against U Miami, which is like the college game days, like everyone's hella hype. We were winning, we were leading by like 20 points, and then guess what? U Miami decides to pack it up and it beats us. Like so glimpses of promise, and then we absolutely get shattered. Right? Like we beat Auburn, and then everything else has been downhill.
Dude,
But
I was keeping track of your game. I was like, dude, what's going on in Berkeley? Because it was obviously the first time college game day actually went to Berkeley for a game, and I obviously texted several of my friends there. I was like, yo, you should pull up, stay overnight, get one of those like
yeah,
Home Depot hard hats. Like
yeah,
my
yeah.
roommate got those when it came to Michigan. Like that was hype, but like and I was keeping track of the score. I was like, damn, Berkeley football, Jaden, maybe something's going on. But
Exactly.
then and then what, I don't know what happened, man.
It was atrocious. Like I didn't watch the game, but like I was checking in. I'm like, I heard U Miami's hella good. I'm like, I gotta make sure we're not getting trashed, right? So I'm like, I was doing homework and I check. I'm like, oh, we're up 20, right? I'm like, okay, we're fine, we're winning. There's only like one. It's like so much time left in the game, and I'm like, okay, gonna send it home. Not do any silly dumb things, and then end up upsetting U Miami. And then after like an hour, I checked back and we found out we lost. I'm like, what? It's like, anyways, but we're not really known as a football school. I mean, we recently joined the ACC, was like Atlantic Coast, which is we're on the Pacific. Um, but we could talk more about that later. But we recently joined the ACC. I guess we have more competition now, but I think everybody I hear really only cares about one game, which is against Stanford, and we always beat Stanford. And it's a home game this year, so I'll be definitely pulling up. But I haven't been going to any football games. I will be going to the one against Syracuse, which is in November, hopefully. But I'll be like the kind of like the EMT on duty, so I'll be like on the field and stuff, which is kind of cool. Looking really forward to it. Um, but yeah, I guess we can get a little bit started into our episode. So football is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest college sport. Like I would guess maybe basketball would be somewhat comparable, but I feel like football is like the college sport here in the United States. Um, and I guess like one of the reasons why is like people usually generally stay for like all 4 years, like even 5 years if possible. For basketball, they play 1 year and they just leave, declare for the draft. Um, but it's football is like the biggest college sport here. But I guess we could talk about like how football has really impacted our school culture, right? Especially, I feel like Zach and Jack, you guys both, you guys literally are the football schools in the nation, right? So, like, what are you guys' insights on how college football has been kind of shaping your school?
I'm first on this one because I think like Jack and I, one thing that's really shaped is how big our stadiums are. It's crazy how big the stadiums are and how many people come for the games. It floods because College Station is a small town. It's pretty small. It's different than Ann Arbor, I would say. But when there's people here, it backs everything up and it really like runs the businesses around town and like keeps them afloat as college season. A lot of times, um, businesses will stay open during the fall and like spring when there's sports, just college sports in general. And then in the summer they'll close down because there's just no revenue coming in because everyone goes home. It's kind of like that's just college town economics, I guess, a little bit.
Mm,
But I think that like football magnifies that just to a whole new level.
Oh yeah, 100% agree with that. I actually would disagree with him in saying that his like College Station is like very different from Ann Arbor because Ann Arbor is also a very like big and well-known college town. Like Zach and like Michigan, like Ann Arbor, like both of our schools have 100K plus seating like stadiums, which I was really surprised by when I came into like college. Like I thought those like professional stadiums, not in the NFL and like across the seas in Europe for like professional like football as they call it there, not soccer as they
yeah.
call it here. But but yeah, so I was really surprised to know that these like stadiums, especially the ones at Michigan, A&M, and some other schools that like Texas and Alabama. Well, I guess these are also big football schools, so I shouldn't be really surprised by that. But these stadiums often sell out like a lot of tickets. Like I'm pretty sure for every game this season, even even in games that we know like oh we're gonna win or games that we play against like small teams, we always have more than 100K. Often, usually around 110K people, which is like pretty much approximately the maximum capacity that the stadium can fit. So when there's that, and plus I'm in the Big Ten, Michigan's in the Big Ten. Big Ten has probably one of the biggest like traveling fan cultures in like college sports. And I think that's probably the same thing in the SEC. I don't know about the ACC, but like those like fans when they travel, they often like take over the town. Sometimes they try to troll some of the students or the fans that are there. I've definitely experienced some of it with Michigan State over this weekend. But when they and I went to a I guess like talking more about like the business end, like what Zach did, like at there are two big like 24 like open 24/7 like restaurants or like places to get food, and they were often packed with fans from like the opposing teams that come to like visit or just like come to play and see their team play. And I think that's a general theme that I've seen across like a lot of like different like restaurants and like stores in our Ann Arbor. Like Michigan really just like is everything. It's both a good academic school and a good athletic school. And actually it is for some students like it is ranked highly among one of their students like dream schools. So Michigan obviously gets like a lot of respect, maybe not from the state of Ohio, but like obviously from other states. Like a lot of people want to come to the University of Michigan and they want to experience what the life is like there. So definitely those like the businesses that are
Yeah.
like on State Street, just close to campus or close to the stadium, those coffee shops, all of these like restaurants that provide, I guess like in some cases like Michigan flavored food, like they're definitely gonna receive like a lot more hype during the football season, especially because Michigan's also like a big football school. I don't know about basketball yet because I do know that there are big like basketball players like Jordan Poole. Well, maybe he's not really big, not as like Stephen Curry big, but like he's well known. He's also a meme player a little bit, but like. definitely the basketball program is not as prestigious as the football program here is, but it will definitely be interesting to see what the trend is like for the basketball season here, and
Yeah.
also the hockey season, because that is also one of the popular sports at Michigan, and also one of the sports that we are considered like a hockey school almost. So like definitely more people turn up to see the football games, and that definitely has more of a bigger impact on like the small businesses around Ann Arbor during like the sports season. And that's pretty much also like the
Oh,
business impact that fans come in
yeah.
to
Correct
bring
me
at
if
Ann
I'm wrong,
Arbor.
Jack, but isn't the like UMich Stadium like one of the biggest college stadiums out there?
Oh, it's the biggest one in it's just I'll just generalize this and say this. It's the biggest one in the United States. It is the second
Oh.
biggest in the world, behind one in North Korea, actually.
Oh, so
So
it's like bigger than professional stadiums.
yeah, it is much bigger than professional stadiums. It's the second largest in the world. I think Zax is also pretty high up there.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
How
was
big is
like,
how big is yours?
I don't know. I think we broke a record, or no, we were in top like three highest all times this past weekend against Louisiana with 108,000 students and people, just like people coming. I think it's we're definitely not as big as you Michigans, but I think that our stadium is better looking than y'all stadium. I will. It's like it. I feel like y'all stadium, it like goes out really far and it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
low to the
yeah.
ground. Ours like goes super high up. It's
Uh,
like there's like escalators and stuff like that in our
So
stadium.
I
It's
haven't
actually
actually
crazy.
seen your stadium yet, but like the if you get like on the like the first row, like that fan experience is like pretty incredible. Like I had a
Yeah.
friend there that like waited out for the Michigan State game because that's one of the big rivalry games that we always have in our season. Like the other one's Ohio State, obviously. It's called the game for a reason. But like when he was there, he was showed on the Jumbotron like 11 times or something. He got selfies with both the president of UMich and current Los Angeles Rams running back Blake Corum, who is a legend because he pretty much led the team last season in rushing. So like if you get those like fan experience, I'm not sure what it's like in A&M, but like just everything in general, like the students, fans, they're all super like close together. I haven't seen the layout of I don't know what the A&M stadium is called, uh, but if I take a look at it, then maybe there's some points that I could say, oh, that's maybe a weakness, and maybe Michigan Stadium or what we call the big house is probably better at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see. I
Um,
wouldn't, Zach. I wouldn't take that disrespect from him. I'm just saying.
yeah. No, I think that one thing that U Michigan's is a little bit different. I think it's a lot closer to the actual field itself. Like when you're in the first row, like you said, you're like literally on the field. Where it's a little bit different here. It's called Kyle Field. That's what it is. It's
Ah, I
um
got you.
yeah, it's a little bit different here, but I like people. I think it's the hardest stadium for anyone to play at. I'll stand by that. Every time that someone, at least this year, I said, "Oh, it's not that hard to play at," and then they come here and they lose to us. So, um, I don't think I don't think that I can't think of any other examples. Maybe Penn State.
Mhm.
That's that's harder to play at than Texas A&M. It's just like everyone has like we have these towels that we're like constantly spinning, uh, and like and on every single play on defense, like every single one, everyone is screaming. It does not stop. It's not just third down or like just fourth down. It's literally beginning to end, and is really intimidating.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures right now, but
Oh
Texas
yeah,
A&M, the stadium looks much more modern than Michigan. Like I can see the problem. Like it's Michigan is quite literally a bowl. Like
yeah,
there's not like the kind of like what do you call it? Like the steps off, like eye bleeds, whatever, nosebleeds. But like it's like kind of like I don't know about the experience when you're like on the outer edge of the stadium, especially when you have a stadium this big, right? But like I think you two talking about like your football like culture, it really I haven't been to any game yet, but from the photos I've seen, like our stadium is like I think pretty much smaller than both of you guys, and most of the games don't even have enough people watching them to actually fill the stands. I think the only time it was filled was against U Miami, but lately I don't think it's ever been filled really. Football culture in Cal isn't really big, really big. Definitely, it's not bad. I mean, like there's certain games that people show up on, like for instance, every year we have the Cal versus Stanford game. But every time it's a home game, everybody will show up. Like that's the game. If you're like we're going to only one game, that is the game to go to. But that hasn't happened yet, so I can't speak much about the experience. But I'm definitely very jealous of what you two have said. But that also being said, I haven't been to any game yet. Um, my friends who have bought the season pass only been to like what 2 3 games. So like it's not really that big of a culture here.
Are everyone just locked in at Berkeley? Like at here, like we can lock in on any other day and then we just go
I
party on the
guess it's
weekend.
I guess it's because like you two like live in college towns. Berkeley isn't really a college town. We're like we have like the surrounding Berkeley area and Oakland area. Like Berkeley has it's a city, right? Like even when Berkeley is not in session, we still have like big high schools. Like it's still a city, right? And then we have SF right across. Like we just cross the bridge and go to SF. Like it's not really a college town. It's more like it's really integrated in the city.
Is
And
Berkeley
every
like in like the Oakland area? Like I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like confused here, but like is like
it's like north of Oakland.
okay, so it's still and like California is obviously the most populous state, so like just around San Francisco, around the Oakland, around Berkeley. I'm assuming there's just a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like the most like it's like when you talk about like the Bay Area, like you think about San Francisco, think about Oakland. Like that's where all the professional teams play, right? So like I don't think that one of the reasons might be like one, our football team isn't as great as you guys, right? And two, like if you really want to like build a new stadium, like I think Texas A&M, like you guys recently renovated or whatever, like that takes a lot of money and land too, right? Like at Berkeley, don't really have the land to do that. So I think it's like our city is literally like into the ground. Um, so I think that's also might be a reason why it's kind of small. But
Maybe a little bit of question here. Like is I don't know when like Kyle Field was like recently renovated. I was like if you could see from my camera like maybe like 5 minutes ago, you could tell I was like searching up on my phone like what the Berkeley and Kyle Field look like. And I was like, damn. I looked at the stadiums, I was like, Kyle Field looks much like it looks
yeah.
more modern than like it looks more like an actual like NFL stadium with like larger capacity. Well, our stadium is like more like historic and wants to like kind of like
Mm,
stay that way and like it's like Michigan football like is pretty historic in general. So like if you keep like that Michigan stadium to that historic like trend and just like keeping like Michigan like in like I guess like football legacy, then like keep like building upon Michigan Stadium and like don't change like I guess like the bottom layer of it. Like I think Zach mentioned it was built into the ground. Like I think they're trying to like maintain that or something. Like I thought that was pretty interesting when I looked at them.
I mean I think yeah, that Texas A&M definitely like looks like a pro stadium. But I guess like a lot of other teams play literally at pro stadiums, right? Like Georgia Tech, like
I mean, even Texas A&M plays at pro stadiums. We played Arkansas up in Dallas at um the Cowboy Stadium. That's just
oh,
like something they do. Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how big your school is. I think that's like a very common thing. Is for schools to go to like pro stadiums because, I mean, if you think about it, like Arkansas, University of Arkansas, and College Station, like halfway point's pretty much Dallas. Um, so like, uh, it's like it's kind of like a shared location, so they go to a different place, and sometimes they'll play like bowl games in a random schools.
wait, so how does the logistics work for that? Like who's the home team in that situation?
That's a good question, honestly. Like I didn't go to that game. Honestly, this past week was my first game that I've went to, because how they do sports passes here at Texas A&M is kind of it's way different than anywhere else that I know of, at least. It's kind of cancer how they do it. It's not good. Um, and hopefully it'll change that. But it's really hard to get tickets to games here. Example, the tickets for game like for not standing room only, um, they're minimum of $250 a ticket
Damn, what?
Damn, bro.
with 180,000 people at the school. or at the game, that's bang. That is bang. Um, so I don't know like how they would do it, but I think like when they go to Dallas, it pulls people in from Dallas and it pulls people in from other locations because they don't have to drive to College Station.
Huh.
And wait, if I'm thinking about it correctly, I think we had a career fair at Kyle Field during that time and like surrounding Kyle Field. So I think like maybe if schools have events going on and they have to use the field for something or like use the area or like there's two conflicting big events in the same at the same time, they'll go somewhere else.
Mm. Well, I think Berkeley's situation is like very unique though. Like, even though we have a stadium, we also have this thing called the Greek Theater, which is like quite like those two are really nearby. This like the stadium itself, and then the Greek Theater, and the Greek Theater is like if an event doesn't happen at SF, it will happen at Greek Theater. Like you have like really big artists performing there, and then those turnout is really like that turnout is very good as compared to football game. Like once like I would like you guys know Nikki
I think
Jack
so. Yeah.
Jack doesn't know, but like Nikki's like really big and like kind of like the Asian like Asian
K-pop.
American. No, it's not Kim. I
Oh
think
wait,
she's
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
no, I think she's Filipino. Though I don't remember, but like she's really popular. She has like what 2 million on Spotify, like monthly listeners. Like she's really big. Um, but like people are literally driving 2 hours to go to the Greek Theater, which is literally on campus here, to watch Nikki, right? Nikki perform, and I think it's kind of like those two different revenue streams, right? For Berkeley, it's like one is like you have football, but football isn't really big or really good here at Berkeley, and the Memorial Stadium is kind of like old. It's like 90 years old. Um, but you also have like another source of revenue during football season, which is the Greek Theater, right? And Greek Theater, I couldn't run events, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But football games is like only one Saturday every other week, right? It was like, and I think for Berkeley, it's like from a financial standpoint, especially since their football team isn't great. It's like I've let's focus more on like the Greek theater, where it's like artists already performing there, a big artist too. It's not just like some middle small artists, but like big artists are performing there. People are willing to drive up here. So I think it's for us, it's just a very unique situation where people don't go to football games, but go to concerts instead. How about you guys?
I guess just more on the like the revenue like point of view. Like I think for us, football season, a lot of revenue does come from like football. And like just another comment, like the 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 people that let you in the stadium like don't allow you to bring bags, they don't allow you to bring water bottles.
Right, right.
Now here's a water bottle, here's a big one. Because like at like a local like Target or like a CVS, you can get like a big pack of water, like maybe 24 pack, 40 pack for like something like between like $5 to like $15 or like even maybe up to $20. I'm not exactly sure what like the pricing is, but at the game, a bottled water like an ice bottled water is $5 per bottle, which I think is mental. So like that definitely if people are thirsty, which they're probably gonna get thirsty, especially in like hotter areas, maybe in A&M, probably something like that. But even at Michigan, like bottled water costs like so much. It definitely allows like I guess like I'm not sure if these like I guess like businesses that sell like water or like just like food like hot dogs. I don't know if they're like sponsored by the school or they're independent like businesses, but they definitely contribute a lot to like the spending at a game and spending at a game like that is like at a football school is like a pretty big thing. And also just moving in towards like also like the merchandise like part of it. Like a lot of the school, Michigan like sponsors like a bunch of like shops that are set not only around campus, but also like during like the game or like just before the game or maybe during tailgates. Like like people can go like buy a shirt, maybe buy a hoodie, maybe because we won the Rose Bowl a year ago, a season ago, maybe we can get a shirt sponsoring that or the or the football championship, like those shirts are often like always like for sale. And I know for sure that those are definitely sponsored by the school. So that, and plus since Michigan is such a big athletic school and a lot of like students, maybe young football players, young sport athletes in general that are maybe thinking about their future, maybe they dream of being a professional athlete one day, they're maybe thinking, oh, maybe I could think about like seeing what Michigan sports is like and saying, oh, maybe in the future, if I work towards that, maybe get into like maybe high school like recruiting, maybe Michigan is something that I could look at if I'm good enough. So like those are definitely a lot of like big things that, and we're gonna talk about like college like recruiting later and maybe NIL deals, which is definitely a big thing that could impact college sports, but definitely also like the small like businesses that like are sponsored by the school, definitely contributing a lot of monies to the school on top of like the ticket sales that are obviously very big because we have a pretty big stadium. And like also just to talk about like ticket packages here. I have a full season ticket and I've been to every game that I can go to this season. And
Wait, how
for
much did it
student
cost?
for student tickets, I got a full season ticket and I got them for like all the home games I got for like $200 and I could sit in like the student section. Bro,
Zach is definitely jealous. He's like, oh, I just spent this on
All
one
right,
game.
Jack. When you buy your sports pass, like the full season, are you guaranteed a spot into the stadium?
no. Because
Okay, that's
because
how it is
like
here too.
okay, but
Um,
I guess like for differently like it's like a little bit of a lottery that so most students that like sign up for it, they get the full season, but there's also a large portion of students that get like what is called a 4 game ticket pack, which since they don't have enough space to fit like everyone in the stadium, they can give that like 4 game like ticket pack. And you get a little bit of your money back for it if you get it. If you like pay like 200 before to enter the lottery and you get the 4 game, I think maybe you pay like 100 or something. I'm not sure. But also there's a big ticket reselling culture here because like there's a lot of students that buy these tickets and they're also like hella locked in sometimes. So they're like, oh, we're not football people. Like we only go for the experience. Or maybe they're like, we went for the experience, but I didn't really like it. They're always going on like Snapchat stories or like even putting on Instagram saying, oh, hey, I'm selling this ticket. And low key, I gotta say, like selling your tickets early, especially if your team is like not promising, maybe it sounds like a good idea, low key. Like definitely this year for Michigan, that was the case. I think for last year it was definitely the opposite. So like when our team was like having an unbeaten record at like 8-0, like those tickets, especially for the big games, definitely started rising. But like definitely now in the reselling like market, I guess like ticket market, since like Michigan is probably gonna lose to Oregon, like low key, like the ticket prices for that game is definitely going down. I think also like for the Texas game, the tickets were initially high up like before the season, but after the way we played against Fresno State in the first game, we were like, oh, we're gonna get blown out, which almost happened. Which actually it probably did happen if Texas would have kept like grinding, and they probably could have embarrassed us a little bit more. But like definitely after that game, we were like, shoot, our team's not that good this year, so people are gonna start selling the tickets. You know what I mean? So it's like definitely also the reselling culture. Also, what I'm noticing about reselling culture, if you like try to get tickets like last minute, they're super cheap. Like I had a friend sell USC for $10, and our USC game was like it was pretty intense. It was definitely worth more than $10. But before the game, people like I think the minimum like the mark I guess like the market price, if you call the reselling like culture like a bit of a market, I think the market like price was around like 40, 50, $60, something around that. But like people when they were like panicking like 2 hours before the game, they're like, oh, maybe I have a meeting or something, or I have to lock in for like a test or something. They would sell that ticket for like not that much money to like someone who's like really begging for it. So like I also found that's like super interesting too, how like last minute ticket sales are like cheap, like the prices are cheap like compared to like months before. And I understand that I'm talking a lot from like the student ticket sales program, and I definitely know that like if you actually get tickets to sit in like one of the more like I guess like other sections, or if you're just more of a general fan of football that just want to see the games, like I know for sure the costs are going to be very different.
Well, I was gonna ask. Um, I was looking at my ticket sales. Well, none of the single game tickets are on sale now, but I would guess for me, I guess get a ticket around like $40, $50 for single games. But I think my friends who got the season pass got them for like I think 100 or $200. And that's for the entirety of football season. But how about so Jack, what you say was yours like 200?
I think if you bought them before the season, like I think they were like around like 200 or
Oh,
something. But
wait.
definitely, I just checked SeatGeek right now, and that's definitely not the case anymore.
Oh,
Like the
you guys use
Oregon,
SeatGeek?
no, I'm just like looking online. Apparently I was actually wrong about like the trends. Like I as the season goes on, it's just not just the student tickets, it's just also the general tickets that are also like following the same like trend with like pricing. So like the Oregon game is also just like $60 because like our team is probably hopefully we're not gonna get blown out by them, but I think our chances of losing are pretty high.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
they beat Illinois pretty like they blew them out and Illinois beat us. So like I don't know if it's gonna be a fun game to watch, but like
Uh-huh.
definitely the experience will be nice. And I'm also looking at the Indiana game that we're playing, and that game's actually an away game. So and Indiana's on a roll right now. Their football team is like doing something that they've never done before. They've been 8-0. And for that game, the tickets are $200. And if Indiana was like 1-7 or something like that, like those tickets would probably be a lot less, like less than certainly less than 100, maybe even less than 50. But like since Indiana's on a roll and it's a home game at Indiana, then the ticket price is gonna be like super high. So basically, like what I'm trying to say is that like I guess like team success definitely determines like ticket price. That's all I'm gonna say.
How about you, Zach?
So when we do it, so Texas A&M, it's like it's not a lottery. It's uh, if you get like a season pass or 4 games, everyone the buy-in is $500 for everyone at the beginning of the year. And how that works, you buy the sports pass. Not everyone can get it. It runs out. You can't get a sports pass after a certain period. And then when you
Yeah, yeah.
buy the sports pass, you have to sit and wait for tickets. Still, you have to go pull tickets, and that determines like your seating where you're seated or
Oh.
seated. And it's kind of interesting because like one person can pull tickets for hundreds of people if they want to. It just depends on how many sports passes they have. Um, and so so what some people do is they'll put it on the Texas A&M Instagram or Texas A&M Snapchat's probably more likely, and they'd be like, "All right, pay me $5 and I'll go pull tickets for you, and I'll get you guys good seats." And I heard of one of my friends doing that, and he got 400 seats, like 400 sports
Oh.
passes, and at
Oh,
$5 a pop, that's a lot of money. So like people do that. People do that, and like for the Notre Dame game, they actually changed the rule at Texas A&M that you can't camp out for more than a week
More
prior
than
to the game.
a
a
week.
week?
Damn.
Yeah, for the Notre Dame game, we had people here. They set up tents out outside of the polling place, and they'll just like always have someone standing there in line, like holding their spot, and they'll just go to class, and then they'll just live pretty much in tents. That's how intense it
No.
is here.
Crazy.
And yeah, no resale for tickets. It's about the like it's it's weird. I got my tickets for $10 because I had it's like one of my really good friends here who just gave it, but people were selling them for like $125
Whew.
each for tickets up in the nosebleeds. Like they're not good tickets at all. Um, it's pretty insane how they do they do sports here. Hopefully they end up changing it, but I think it's crazy that y'all's buy-in is like $200. I didn't want to get
I
it
mean,
before because I thought because like you guys know I'm from Virginia, so Virginia Tech, how they did it was at least when I was a kid, was if you bought a sports pass, that meant you had a seat, like you had a specific seat that you had to sit in the student section. That made sense. You didn't have to go and
mm, right. Yeah,
pull a
yeah,
ticket.
yeah.
Wait, just
So
a
I didn't
quick
buy mine at the
question.
beginning of the year.
Yeah, just a quick question. If you like get like assigned like seats, like do you are you like forced to sit in them? And do you have like staff that like moderates that a little bit?
Well, at Texas A&M we don't have assigned seats. Like it's just like student section. Sorry. Actually, it's like they'll give you like a section, if that makes sense. And then yeah, they'll give you like a seat and then sorry, I'm totally lying right now. Yeah, they give you a seat and they do have a lot of times like they'll have police. Like there's a ton of police because it's Texas, there's a ton of police um in the stadium. Like and like security, it's like actually insane. There's like so many people per level. We got like 5 levels, 4 or 5 levels at least of stands. Um, and there's just insane amount of police. They're constantly like patrolling, making sure people are in their spots. Um, and more than that, like this, there's also staff too. I was in standing room only for the last game, and like every 10 minutes, a guy kept telling me to like move from where I was standing because like I was blocking the entrance, but I wasn't blocking the entrance at all. And like I was like crowding the actual seats, but I was in standing room only. Like, what am I supposed to do? Um, but like, uh, yeah, it does get a bit crazy. Like some people get like thrown out, stuff like that, because they're
Wow.
taking people's seats. But
What?
Yeah, I asked that question because I know you're forced to like sit if you have like a box seat or like a very like top like seat like Ann Arbor like both sides of the big house like have like big like box like seating areas like at the very top of the stadium so you can like see like the entire field. But for definitely for the student section like I was told by a lot of people that seating does not matter at all. So like one of my friends probably had like a seat that was in like section so and so and seat number like 70 or 80, which obviously is super high up. But if he got into the stadium early, he got into the stadium early enough to claim one of the seats in row one, which is pretty much like where like you can see like everyone who if there's a celebrity that is actually like walking on the side of the stadium and if you want to take pictures with him, you can just get into the picture. So like I was I asked that question because like I thought like it did matter and for my school it obviously doesn't. But like I think in like non-student sections, like I've been in the non-student sections once because there was a family weekend that I sat with my parents and we tried to sit close to our assigned seat, but I know other parents that were and other students were bringing their parents like closer to like the side of the stadium. So I think maybe the same rules apply in like the non-student sections.
Yeah, let's actually. I want to talk a little bit more about like divisions, right? I think all of our schools are in different divisions, but what? How important do you guys think the divisions are? Like, obviously, didn't like the Big Ten dissolve or something, but like, how important
Yo, what you're
is?
saying? You can't be disrespecting Big Ten like
Oh, not
that.
Big Ten. Pac. Is it Pac-12?
Pac-12, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's all good, man.
But okay, so we all know which schools are the Big Ten now, but how important do you guys think are the divisions? Because for Berkeley, we joined a bigger division, ACC, and apparently, like because we joined this division, we're not allowed to get a lot of funding from the state government. Um, so for like the college standpoint, what do you guys think is like kind of the pros and cons of joining like a big division?
I can speak to this because I think SEC is probably the biggest division, and arguably the best division in all of college football. Just like in terms of like talent and the amount of people that are watching and the importance on football, like how many people actually go and watch the games. It's there's more people in the SEC that actually watch football, I think, than anywhere else. I think like joining the SEC, especially with NIL deals and stuff like that, is super beneficial to schools and it helps like lower their tuition a lot. Because the main way there's like two main ways I think that at least Texas A&M is bringing in revenue. It's through tuition and it's through football and like sports and also donors. Third one is probably donors. Um, so like it starts bringing down tuition. I feel like especially at a state school like Texas A&M. I know that U Michigan's Michigan's tuition is quite crazy for in-state.
Yeah, don't get me started on don't get me started
Yeah.
on the out of state
Yeah.
tuition, please.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot you're out of state too.
So
That's
it's way
terrible.
worse. It's out of
It's
Yeah,
state.
90K, no?
I'm
I
fortunate
think it's
enough
around
to
that, yeah.
90.
Yeah.
I think it's 90K out of state,
It's like on par with private schools. It's crazy.
pretty much.
That is not, dude. That's crazy. Dude, my tuition's $15,000 a year. So, um, that's in-state. That's in-state. I'm
Oh,
technically out-of-state student, but something that Texas A&M does, or actually all Texas schools do. Um, if you get over $4,000 in scholarships per year, they just like say you're an in-state student, which is like
No way.
so it's
that's
like
hype.
so good. It's actually so good. It saves me so much money. I think like it gave me like a $28,000 discount or something like that for having over $4,000 of scholarships here. Um, but I guess getting back to like the revenue point and like how what division you're in affects that. I mean, they all have different rules and stuff like that. Um, but I think the most important is like NIL deals now. Texas TU joined uh SEC recently and then immediately got an NIL deal with Lamborghini and the now all their players drive like brand new Lamborghini Huracans.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
luxury
crazy.
and they
life,
get
luxury
so much
life.
money. And what that does is that brings more talent to your school, which brings more revenue to your school, and thus like lowers prices for other people, and or it just brings more talent in terms of like brain talent as well as um just football talent. You know, because people like to watch football. At least in the SEC, it's different for a place like Berkeley. I think the importance is placed less on that because it doesn't matter as much for them. Because no offense, but like y'all haven't been good at football for a very long time. So I mean, like Texas A&M hasn't been good for a hot second either. But uh, like it, the longer that you're bad at football, the more there are the less people actually want to watch at your school, so they place more importance on other things. So other things will get more funding, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely here. Apparently, Texas A&M does like the tuition waiving thing for if depending on how many scholarships that you get. We definitely don't do that. We're even in-state tuition at Michigan is pretty tough, but if you compare Michigan, the quality of just life at Michigan to like other schools, other in-state schools, I would reckon that Michigan is pretty high up there in like how worth it is to be an in-state student at Michigan compared to like some of the other schools. I think an argument would be made that it is actually one of the best in terms of like tuition. But in terms of like tuition to value, like I guess like conversion for in-state students. Out-of-state students, that's a completely different argument if you like it depends on like what you look at. But essentially basically here, like I did tell Zach earlier that Michigan out-of-state tuition is 90K. And also, a good portion of Michigan students are out of state. And Michigan is also not a school that offers a lot of scholarships. So they're getting a lot of revenue just from tuition. And as a result, like they can pay some of, I guess, more on the sports, and like they also get a lot of football revenue, and they can pay a lot. I mean, they can give their athletes like I don't know if this is true. They can
Yeah.
give like full ride scholarships or something to come
Oh,
to the
yeah,
schools.
yeah.
I think this was the thing before NIL deals started coming out, but now they
Mhm.
can pay like their players like I think their limit is up to like 20 million spent on like college athletes, which are probably going to be allocated towards football and basketball depending on like how big the school is in each thing. But I know Zach touched on NIL briefly. I'd say TV contracts and media rights are probably a very big thing. And actually, I can just say that TV rights is actually one of the big reasons why the Pac-12 dissolved, because Pac-12 was actually the only conference out of like the Power Five that it was the only conference that couldn't really secure a long-term TV rights deal. And like those big football schools like UCLA, USC, and Oregon and Washington, they were like, no, we don't like that. I think we can make more money in the Big Ten or in another conference that is big in football and like in popularity. I mean, the Pac-12 was probably also very big in like football, but they just couldn't secure that TV rights deal. And I guess like schools were thinking that they can break a little bit of the tradition and move elsewhere just for the money. So as a result of like the TV rights and like how they can get so much money from like TV, and that definitely also like I guess like translates onto like NIL deals and like how like the school can like market themselves a little bit more. Like definitely the conference realignment is is well known because of the TV rights deal. And if the Pac-12 would have secured a TV rights deal maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, definitely we wouldn't be playing Oregon next week.
Yeah, I guess Jack, your situation I think is very special, unique because I think UMich, like talking purely academic wise, is definitely like top 20 or top 30, right? Top 30, top 20.
For sure,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, but and your sports wise, you're also like even better, like top 10, right? Like it's a very rare circumstance.
Come to Michigan, guys. We got the best. We're the best university in the world.
I'm not sponsored, but I'm just
I'm just kidding.
saying.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, like Jack, like Umesh, like specifically, it's like known for both academics and sport and school culture, right? Like, and I think that's a really big selling point for Mitch. I think like a lot of when I was applying to college, like UMich was definitely on the list because of those two things, and for a lot of people in my school as well. But talking about UC Berkeley, I guess we're only known for like nerds, right? Like going like what Jack brought up, like TV media rights. Like recently, ESPN College Game Day came by, and then like the assumption was that people were not going to show up because it was actually straight during midterm weeks. Like I remember, I didn't have midterms. My midterms were earlier, but for a lot of my friends, they had like 2, 3 midterms that week. But people still decided like wait outside for like what at like 12 a.m. when it opened, which at 3 a.m. So they waited outside for like good 3, 4 hours just to be on college game day. Like I guess that was kind of breaking stereotypes a little bit there. But we're gonna talk about Texas A&M. Like, with all due respect, I'm gonna say that Texas A&M is definitely more known for its sports than its academics.
I would argue differently. I would argue differently.
Okay.
It's a amazing engineering school here, and I think we're ranked like 15 in the public schools. I'm not even joking. We're 15th. I know you're number one, but
First, no,
hear what I'm saying. I think Jack's school is objectively better for education. Like the place that you're at and the alumni you get is amazing there. But you're also gonna be like what $270,000 in debt when you're coming out of college. Like
Right.
that's the difference. That's like kind of how I made my decision in terms of schools. This is kind of going off the rails. I'm not gonna lie. It has nothing to do with but like I feel like Texas A&M sleeper. It's an undergrad.
A sleeper?
I mean, it's different. It's different for me because I don't think I would have come to Texas A&M if I wasn't in business honors, which is like is a good program. And it's just a really really small program. I feel like Mays Business School is great, but oh gosh, Ross
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is amazing. It's a great school, and it's like you get into a great school, whereas like you kind of have to be in business honors for it to be like on the same level as Michigan in terms of like network and because Texas A&M has like one of the biggest networks, but I think that it's the biggest network in the South. So like if you're trying to go north, like Michigan is a lot better, objectively a lot better
Yeah.
in terms of networks, but like we're working on that. We're working
Well,
on
I
that.
guess like all the SEC schools are kind of like
Yeah.
big sports, but not so big academics, right? They have like
Yeah,
LSU.
Hey, you sleeping on Texas? I'm gonna be real.
Okay,
Ivan,
Texas is different. Texas is different. Like,
TU stinks, bro. I think T.
who's the
actually think that
Longhorns?
yeah.
UT Austin, I think.
UT Austin.
That's
Yeah,
his,
UT Austin's
academic
like
name, yeah.
UT Austin's like I think the only school that's like has good academics, and a good sports program, right?
Yeah, they're really good sports. They're good academics as well. Um, yeah, it's also like it's like a price thing as well too. They're priced insanely high as well, and like it's so hard to get into into TU. It's crazy hard to get into. I feel like the people that get into TU get into like U Michigan, and they also get into other schools, and then they end up not going to TU.
Is
I
UT
feel like
TU is
it's
Austin?
UT. It's a T. Yeah, we call it TU
Oh,
because
okay. I
Oh,
was
really?
confused a little bit. I
sorry,
was confused a
Yeah.
sorry,
second.
my fault, my fault. It's like Texas A&M people will call it TU, and it's like lowercase TU. It's to like diminish it. If that makes sense because we
Okay.
hate them.
No, we
Yeah,
just no. Honestly, we just do horns down. I think that's easy.
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
easier.
yeah. No, we say that Aggies have two emotes. It's horns down and then gig 'em. It's like we have two emotes. Every time there's like a jumbotron, it's either like or like the gig 'em. But yeah, I agree that like sports is definitely a main focus here, and um, like especially in SEC schools because I feel like SEC schools are usually like a lot bigger in size, if that makes sense. So we have a wide range of talent in terms of education. Um, like I feel like you can definitely see people at Texas A&M that don't end up going very far. Whereas like Berkeley, there's it's a smaller school objectively.
Well,
I think that the
I
pressure,
would like it's not really it's not a small school. It's definitely not a small school.
I know it's smaller, smaller.
Really? Is it really smaller? It's like
I
we
mean,
have like our
how many
class
people?
size is like 1 year's around like 10,000. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, it's like
Our,
huge.
well, our I don't know. We have like 70,000, 75,000 students. I know it's like one or two in the
Yeah,
nation.
okay. Okay, our total undergraduate population is 33,000.
All right, our total under ours is double that, I think,
No
at
way.
least.
All right, let me check
Uh,
mine.
I'm pretty
Mine is
sure.
around
I'm like
mine is around
90% sure
30.
it's bigger.
oh
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
double.
Mine,
Yours is a little Texas A&M is a little bit bigger. A little
a
bit.
little bit bigger.
Uh,
Oh, mine is
but
35K.
I think that
Uh,
like we we have like almost a wider range of majors too. Like there's people that do like turf science here.
okay.
So
All
like
right, okay,
I
that's
feel like
interesting.
it's like at UMich, it's like just engineering, like
Right, right.
electrical engineering, all that. And then it's just business. Like you don't really
Mm.
hear about the other stuff.
I
I
mean,
feel like at Texas A&M because it's just so freaking big that it's like a wide range. So like it's it's like we definitely don't you don't see us as big on like Wall Street or on that, but I think that I don't know, it just kind of depends on like how you define success in a
uh-huh.
school.
I think
Um
I think for SEC, what I think Zach is trying to get at is like what they're focusing on what brings in the money. And for SEC is sports that brings in the money. Right? Like
yeah.
you have these big ass stadiums, right? Like and then donors which are like who got rich off of sports, right? And then you have coaches who have like kind of like a pipeline to the NFL, like the NBA. Not really an NBA. I don't think SEC is that great in basketball, but
It's great. It's great. We're ranked
Kentucky. You're
15th
oh,
sleeping on
Kentucky, right,
Kentucky.
right, right, right. But I
and
think it's like
use
what brings
also
in the
like
money, right? Like
oh
people want to donate to a good football program. Like if like for example, Zach, if you come out and you become a billionaire, and then you want to be like, hey, I want my name in Texas A&M. What's the best way to do it? And you will probably donate to make another stadium. Like honest to God, I think that's why like these schools focus so much on sports is because that's what make people want to donate. That's what makes people, people want to come to this school is because of sports. As compared to like maybe Berkeley or Michigan, people want to donate to the actual college itself. Like here, people donate to have a building, an academic building in their name, right? Like at Berkeley and at Michigan too, right? But maybe not so much at Texas A&M. People want to donate to build like a new sporting facility or whatever. But I also want to emphasize that like a lot of these SEC schools, like University of Pittsburgh's not SEC, but I University of Pittsburgh, even though it's undergrad, isn't that great as compared to other schools. and it's they spend a lot of money on sports as well, but they make up for that by their medical school is extremely good. It's like top 20 in the nation, right? Their medical school is like really good, on par with like Stanford, UCSF, your Harvard. Like they're really good. So they actually have a program as BSMD, which is basically you do their undergraduate at Pittsburgh and you get a guaranteed acceptance into your med school, which is insanely good, right? And but their undergrad is compared to med school is it's like really it's a very different level. And you also see that in Brown, right? Brown does not have as great of a med school, but it has a very great undergrad. So they couple those two together in their BSMD program. So I think a lot of colleges now are kind of like, especially maybe like Texas A&M, they're trying to make these programs, like they're trying to improve their academics as well, right? And the first step would be making a program very special. Like if I have a small number of students, I can specialize and focus, like spend more money on a small number of students without being like a financial nightmare, right? If I only have 20 students, I can spend like $1 million on each and I'd still be like not that financially doomed, right? So I think that's a lot of what the large colleges are doing. Would you agree, Zach?
I will- Football is
Zach,
like what brings in the money.
well, he cut out in the
Cut
Cut
beginning.
off a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not fall. Sorry. Let me sit closer. Yeah, you're entirely right on that. Like football brings in the money here, and then that's what kind of funds the education. I would say, at least in the SEC, that's a very big thing. Is donating to the football, and then like the donors are so important to what shapes the football team and how good the football team is. Like, we got rid of our last coach. Last year, we paid him $75 million to just leave, to break his contract and leave, which is so much money. But like they care about football and they care about sports a lot more, like a lot more. And like that's definitely a big point. And that's why our programs are our good programs are a lot smaller. For example, like we have these, I'm sure like you mentioned Berkeley has these types of things too, but they're called like high impact programs where it's like they're partnered with the school and you have to take certain classes and they like shape your degree almost to take certain classes. We have one, it's called Aggies on Wall Street. That's what I'm planning to do. It's for investment banking. And we have this guy named Felipe Perco. He's like an actual genius. He's insane. But he's like he worked on Wall Street and he worked in France for a long time. So like I feel like our programs are a lot smaller and they're a lot harder to get into once you're in the school. If that makes sense. Like Jack, once you're in UMich and once you're in Ross, you're already off to a good start. Whereas in the SEC schools and like smaller schools like Texas A&M, I have to then apply against like so many other students to get into like just the investment club here. I know it's insane at Berkeley.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, you're kind of wrong on that.
It's not hard for you guys. I'm just saying we have.
It's not. No, no. You don't get it, bro. It was insanely hard to get it.
He has PTSD. He's PTSD.
We had two or like 3,000 students, freshmen apply to the investment program. Only 20 people got in to it, which is like, and being in, I don't know what it looks like for you Michigan, but like it's kind of, I feel like that's kind of insane numbers. So having 20 people out of like 2,000 for just the investment club,
I think like, clubs in general is like a super big bag of worms. I think we could make another episode on it because
we'll make another episode on that. Yeah,
and club is like, you know, like my thoughts like
orgs are like
you have
crazy.
Undergraduates, like what, juniors and seniors, thinking they're admissions officers as well. Like that's a crazy thought, in my opinion, right? Like it's a club. It's not that serious.
No, literally, your way in is that you just have to glaze whoever's on the club.
It's just glazing. It's what you get you in. You just glaze super hard.
Either you have connections or you just glaze, and then that's your way in. That's how you get a referral.
Exactly. Well, I think we can talk about this in our
Yeah,
another
I think we should
episode.
get, I think we should get back on track because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
this
yeah,
is the
okay.
biggest tangent.
Well, I was gonna talk about like more deep in depth about NIL, right? Like you know, in a
Okay.
recent like college football game, but I think it was by EA, right? It was huge, massive, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah,
that
I forgot about
was
that.
made possible only like the NIL was like recently. Like it used to be like bad, I think, right? But now they like reinstated it like a couple years ago, like 1 or 2 years ago, and then they can suddenly start making like these games and then having students be like sponsored by brands. So, what's your kind of opinion on this? Should college athletes, before they become pro, they aren't professional athletes yet, but should college athletes be able to earn like some college athletes definitely earn millions of dollars off of these NIL deal packages, right? So should college athletes be earning that money before entering pro sports?
I okay, I say yes to a point. I think that they should be able because there's the argument that when you're a pro or not pro, when you're a college athlete, it's taking up all your time and you're unable to actually like do work outside of school. It's like work, gym, like on the field. That's all you're doing. At Texas A&M, you can't join a frat and be on the football team at the same time. That's because it's just like too much time commitment. That's an actual rule. Um, so I feel like they should be able to be paid a certain amount for their time, and also like I get the argument of it bringing in students and bringing in talent, but the amount that these students are making as like a freshly 18-year-old fresh adult, they're making them like millions for playing football. It almost makes it like not worth it for them to go to the NFL and possibly like play in harder football, if that makes sense, because they're making so much money now with these NIL deals. I think it kind of it destroys the game, in my opinion, because it gives so much power to a few amount of schools, and like we won't see as many like upsets, like or just seeing like underdog stories to the rise to the top, if that makes sense, in my opinion. I feel like this year's kind of like an example of that goes against what I'm saying because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
been so many upsets and stuff like that. Just like small teams, like I don't know, Notre Dame losing to Illinois, Northern Illinois, that they paid them money to pay
Oh
or to
yeah,
play,
Oh yeah, Florida
and then
State
they
too.
lost. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like these big schools are just losing, but I think overall, it it kind of takes away from what college football is meant to be. It's meant to like it's to show yourself so that you get into the NFL, right? And um, like show yourself off. And students are playing to not get hurt rather than to show their talent, if that makes sense. Which I think that's a good thing, right? We don't want anyone getting
Yeah.
hurt, concussions and stuff like that. But at the same time, it makes it less fun, less
Hmm,
fun to
hmm.
watch in a way. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I definitely do think that some college athletes can get paid, especially if they're competing in the sports that are being televised. If this because basically what attracts like a fan to like watch the game is just because like they have like a certain like good players. I guess a lot of people like tune into Michigan because they're defending the championship. But let's say Michigan wasn't defending the championship I think that maybe the offense would get like a little bit more fans than like the defense, which shouldn't happen, but like they probably get that because they're the ones that are making the notable plays or getting like touchdowns. If that was the case, then a lot of people would be saying, or maybe let's say like Colson Loveland, who's our tight end and our star offensive weapon, he'd be like, he's the one that's probably attracting a lot of fans to the TV or just to see the game in general. So with him like finally being able to like use his leverage and like getting some NIL deals with getting some pay, I think it's also fair to him because what some of these athletes are saying, oh, we're getting televised. We're the reason why people are watching your games. then we should maybe get some sort of compensation because of that. So I think NIL deals is a little bit a way to compensate players in doing that. At the same time, it also takes away from like I guess like being like a student. Like you have to be in like a little bit of a special condition to be like an athlete that is like on television. So like you can't like it feels like you can't really have that normal college experience. And so I definitely also see the other side of the argument saying why NIL deals should not be involved. And another concern moving forward that that will be interesting to be looked at is female sports as well, because like I
Mm,
guess that a lot of the argument right now is revolved around male sports and maybe women's basketball in the future. But if men's sports are like super popular and like women's sports are like not as popular, there's gonna be that sort of argument like the Title IX, like the laws that could be in place. So there might be just a lot of conflict between NIL and just like that ruling. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens in the future regarding,
yeah,
I guess those challenges around
I
just
think yeah.
paying and doing NIL
I think
deals.
you make a really good point here because honestly, like I've noticed, like other than football here, I don't know about you guys, but every other game, like if you go watch a basketball game or a women's volleyball game, it's free admission, right? But football game, you have to pay like a good chunk of your wallet to get in. Um,
Right.
and I don't think, obviously from a financial standpoint, like football obviously brings in the cash. Like people want to watch football, but actually, I feel like women's volleyball, especially, is picking up. And I don't know about football, but I know about volleyball. Is that on each team they only have two sponsorship spots, two scholarship spots. So only two people can earn scholarships on each team. And if you want to make a good team, right, you can't just throw out promise of scholarships. And there's specific positions in volleyball where it's less likely to get a scholarship, right? Like if you're a libero, as compared to a setter or outside hitter, you have a much less chance of getting a scholarship, right? And I think that's kind of the main problems with NIL is that some athletes are getting compensated for spending their time while others are not, right? And also, I feel like you're spending $8 million on one athlete. You could spend that $8 million on academics, right? Like university is academics at the like and like if we talk a lot about college sports, but college, the main point of college is academic, is studying. And you're spending $8 million
I would
on one
disagree.
athlete who
I
is
I would disagree. The college is at the end of the day academics. I think it's more than that. It's more about experience too. At least now, what people are like putting emphasis on, like a majority of people are putting emphasis on, um, are putting a pot. Sorry, are putting emphasis on the actual experience that you're getting from the school as well. I think it's like two main things. It's like, and you can go two ways with it. You can go full academics and have low key a bad, like a not great experience, or you can go like towards more of an experience university. Like for example, like Tulane, I would say that's an experience university where like the academics are good there, they're good, but they're not the best. Or maybe like Texas A&M, I wouldn't say that we're not Harvard, but when you're at Harvard, you're gonna be studying like 24/7, whereas like here, we're going out a lot. I'll say like on the weekends, people go out, and I think that kind of is something that takes we need to like take into account in terms of like what people are looking for in a school, and that like changes how much money they're going to give, if that makes sense with the NIL. Like the SEC is going to give a lot more money to students that are in sports because they want that experience, right? Like their students want the experience when they come here. Whereas like at Berkeley, they're not going to give as much because when they go to Berkeley, they want to put their head down and work.
okay. Let's take a pause because Jack's computer is gonna die.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna pause.
All right, so I'm back from my pause because I ran to my dorm and grabbed a charger. I'm in a music room right now, just totally using that music room for its intended purpose, I would say.
Making
But I
noise.
was gonna But I was gonna comment on Zach's point and Ivan's like argument about like what college like kind of is. I think college is about how like Ivan said it was like super more academics. Like I would also disagree with that point. I would say that college in my eyes it's a little bit of like a stepping stone of what you're gonna do in the future. It could be both academically or just also athletically. So in terms of like athletically, like Zach mentioned that college athletes that are playing they're trying to show like I guess like future I guess like the pros that they can do it at a very high level at the college level. So for that, they're kind of also like setting themselves up for an athletic career. But obviously, if you make it to the pros, like if you go to like a draft or something for some of the American leagues and you turn out being a bust, you also still get a little bit of that pro money. So I guess like you still like work towards like something in the end. But if you are actually super more like successful in college, then it will definitely set you up for a lifetime and maybe have like a legacy in like the professionals. So that would definitely be like super solid. But also like I'm more of like if you do well academically, get like a high GPA, and it gets you ready for like whatever you do in job, just feeding you like the knowledge that you need to be successful in the future. I think college also definitely does that too. So just I guess like summarizing my point and like how like I disagree with Ivan, it's not just like academic, it's just more generally just like setting yourself up in the future and just giving you on the academic
Okay.
front, the right connections that you need, but also on the athletic front, just setting you up for like a future career.
I guess if you place it like that, I guess if you place it like college has two roles. Like one role is like for an athlete, another role is for a student. But you know, I really think athletics, especially, of course, I take it for granted. Of course, like college sports is like a huge big thing that I really appreciate, right? But I really do feel like a lot of these college athletes, especially in football, are not gonna make it in the NFL. Like only like what the top 10% of college athletes really can make a career for themselves in the NFL. And same with the NBA, right? Like people like I think a big problem in college football is like what people taking like playing 5 or 6 years. Like what's like the guy in UMass he's like on his like seventh or six or 7 year of like playing on a team. Like
I
that's
think they
absolutely
just a comment. I think the Utah quarterback is in his seventh year of eligibility, and he's also
that's
getting a
crazy. That's absolutely
oh,
crazy.
just adding on to that, I think he got injured, so he's doing another medical redshirt, so he's eligible to play next year as well in his eighth year, which
Like,
is
like if you're playing 8 years of college football, are you realistically making it to the NFL? Like just like realistically, if you're
Okay,
playing
okay.
8 years,
Yeah, but think about the he was in the finals for the men's NBA, or not NBA, for like the NCAA finals, and he was a senior, and it was
right,
his
right.
like last year, and then like he never was like really good until the finals, and then he got drafted because of the finals. So like I get that, like the thought that like, oh, maybe I can make it. Um,
Yeah, but my issue is like like colleges programs, like maybe Berkeley. Maybe it's because I go to Berkeley that I'm this kind of minded. But like I feel like your college is spending tens of millions of dollars. It's not hundreds of $1 million on athletes who are most likely not going to make it big, right? Like most of these, like what 5-star recruits are coming out as busts, draft busts, or even busts in college. Like they're just redshirting,
I
right?
wouldn't agree with no redshirt is I don't think redshirt is like synonymous with like bust, but like they're not playing their first year, so that means they can play
Oh
they can
yeah,
stay in
but
the school
like
for 5 years.
I
But
guess, but
also
like
I think the success rate of 5-star recruits in college is definitely higher than it is in the NFL. Just a comment that
it,
I think
yeah, definitely. I
yeah.
definitely agree. It's just that I feel like if you're spending tens of millions of dollars on athletes who are very risky, right? Who people who may or may not make it to the big leagues and may or may not, play well for your school, as opposed to spending tens of millions of dollars on renovating the dorms for students who who are majoring in engineering, who go into law school, who are going to med school. Those are people who, in the end of the day, may have the money to donate back to the school, right? Like, I feel like it's just the money, especially when you're talking about NIL. Of course, you're making a lot of money from sports, but you're also spending even more money into athletes who may or may not be bust, but who, instead of spending it on the true purpose of your college, which is academics.
Um, I I agree with you. Like maybe it's not the most wise investment. I think it is an investment because um like if you have good players, more people will come, which is more revenue. And I think they do end up making a lot of that money back over the period. But I think at least for Texas A&M, they answer to the donors and what the donors want their money to go to. And like how it'll work is like they'll donate a crap ton of money and then they'll take some of that. Like the donors are like, I wanted to go to football. And they're like, well, we'll put this much towards football, but some of it has to go to students as well. So like it gets donors to donate more to students for scholarships. Like having and like at the end of the day, when you're an alumni and you're leaving Texas A&M and for your last time, right? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back for football. That's what they're coming back for, and they want to see their team win. And that's like that's what draws alumni back to donate money. If that makes sense. Like, do
Yeah,
you get what I'm
yeah.
getting at?
I guess like
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, I thought like they donated straight towards a football program, but I guess some of
It's
them
like
still.
it goes to at least the Texas A&M. It goes to the Texas A&M Foundation, which then distribute. It's like a third party then distributes the money to football students, and like that's where I got my scholarships from. It's all from one foundation, but what happens is the donors and the alumni pour money into that foundation.
Yeah, but I guess I take my issue in like, I guess NIL already kind of foresaw this issues. Like, if I really want this 5-star recruit, let's say like this, talk about football, like this quarterback, like best generational talent,
And I think Michigan
and
needs that right now. To be honest, yeah. Dave Portnoy was like, Dave Portnoy, president of Barstool Sports, which is like, if you don't know what Barstool Sports is, it's pretty popular on social media. It covers majority of sports. Like it's pretty huge. Like states, schools, even high schools have their own Barstool page, and like it for most of them, it's a meme page, but for some of them that are actually tracking recruits, it's pretty for real. But like Dave Portnoy, who's also a UMich grad, he's the president of Barstool Sports Football. He literally watched some of our games this season because he's obviously alumni. He was like, I'm willing to pledge up to 3 million in NIL money for Michigan to get a new quarterback because
no
obviously our
way.
quarterback situation is abysmal. So like definitely a lot of donations are just like flying in for both like I know I can also like talk about this like for athletics and also on the academic front. I don't know how it works at Michigan, but um for Virginia, which also is a school that I actually know a lot about, like through the Alumni Association, they also like get a lot of alumni donations, and they I think what they do is that they also like contribute part of it back to school and part of it also to offering scholarships for incoming students. So it's kind of like similar to what A&M does. So there could be a lot of discussion about like what the money that you get from like donations could be like brought like towards. And I think generally in the future, since NIL deals are becoming more popular, I could definitely see in the future more donors maybe donating more on the athletic front.
Hmm.
And I think
I
that is a trend that we will need to watch
well, I
very
guess
carefully in the future.
like well, my problem is like, this guy is donating $3 million because they want this quarterback. Like, in theory, like what Zach said, like schools like buying Lambos for the students, like, and that's overkill. Like, you don't need a
Okay,
lab.
okay.
Like,
I think we need to like kind of define NIL. NIL is name, image, and likeness,
yeah,
right? So what they're
yeah,
doing is they're selling this to companies and stuff like that. So Lamborghini partnered. It's not like they bought all these
Mm,
Lamborghinis for them. It's they partnered with Lamborghini, so what they'll do is the like Manning at TU, he'll do like an ad for Lamborghini to like pay for the Lamborghini he gets, right? So they
okay.
do ads for it. So
Well,
like they're like selling their players out as
uh-huh.
as advertisements, which
Well,
like it's
okay.
even more than that,
Well, I
just
guess
giving
like
money.
okay, maybe that was a bad example, but I feel like definitely some colleges would buy like one QB, like one 5-star QB Lambo for them to come, right? I feel like that would definitely be the case. Like if I was a recruiting manager at like a top SE school, let's say like LSU, right? LSU is not great at football right now, right? I haven't heard anything about them, so
They're pretty good.
are
I
they
mean,
pretty
they're
good?
pretty
Okay,
good. They're just say like I guess
We beat
Kentucky
them,
is
but
not good.
they're
Good.
pretty good.
Maybe talk
okay.
about Kentucky or something
Let's
like
say
that.
like Kentucky. I really need a new quarterback, right? I'm going out of 5-star quarterbacks, but I'm competing against like, well, like Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, right? I'll be like, how to one up them? I buy this guy a Lambo, right? A Lambo is like like a couple $100,000, and you're spending a lot of time on this one guy who may or may not come to your college, which I really take a problem with because like sports is obviously one part of college, but as I've said a lot of times, academics is too. Why not spend this money like instead on renovating the dorms, renovating academic centers, buying new computers, paying for scholarships of people who truly believe in academics, right? That's my main issue. Like I definitely see like you should definitely set a cap, right? Like there's no way
There
a
is a
college should
cap. It's
be
20 million.
yeah, 20. That's 20 million is way too high. Still, like, there's no way you
And
should
I
pay more than 10 million on one athlete to join your college. Like, 10 million is how
no
many
no
people's
no okay.
tuition?
I think 20 million is like the cap on overall spending. So you
Yeah,
can, so if you spend it on like, I mean, obviously no college is dumb enough to spend that all on one athlete, but they obviously, and it's also for, I don't know if this is true, but I think it is for all sports instead of just like football or basketball or something like that. So just like,
yeah,
I
but
guess a
like,
clarification a
it's
little bit
like
there.
20 million for all 4 years. That's still a lot of money. That's like a couple hundred students' tuition, right? Like, if you're spending this much money on one athlete, but not spending that money on giving scholarships to 200 students, what does college really mean now? Is college for sports instead of academics? I think it's just really digressing from the main theme of college. Anyways,
Yeah, kind
uh,
of a tangent there, like a big tangent in our overall discussion. But I think maybe we could talk a little bit since we did talk about like I guess like paying money to like come in. Why not we just also like move on to maybe talking about I guess more of like the recruiting process.
right.
So maybe can one of you maybe like talk a little bit like more about like maybe if you know a little bit more. I don't know too much about high school recruiting, but if you guys know a little bit more, maybe could you like
You know?
say a little bit more? Not
Okay,
much.
I know a little bit because I was not recruited for that. I was recruited for academics and um for how well I can run or how fast I can swim. But I did have a buddy who um was gonna go. He was thinking of going D1 for diving, and um I think like how it really worked was well, they first try to get you out there, like get you out to go look at the college and stuff like that. And then once you do that, they're like, okay, we'll give you free tuition. Like, we'll give you free tuition and a stipend under like some scholarship, right? Um, and like in return, you have to like you're accepted to the school, and you have to attend for like 4 years and you have to be a part of the team or else you like lose the money. He didn't end up going D1, but like I know someone who swam for Ohio State for 1 year and then he quit the team because he hated the coach and then he went and swam in their club. They didn't actually kick him out of the school. They just like took away his scholarship. So like I think that it's really just based on like money. I will say though, like that was before NIL. I don't know how it works with NIL. They probably go up to them and be like, "I can get you a deal with Under, Armour, I can get you a deal with this person. Like, we'll get you so many deals with so many companies. You'll be making ads, you'll be making money um on your own. Like I think that's probably they're like the middleman. Like we will connect you with these businesses rather than we'll give you this.
Yeah.
That's how I see it now. But I feel like
Yeah,
that we see a trend with the NIL stuff now. Like I think high schools are doing an NIL now. Like
really.
Really?
yeah, like um people in Texas, like I don't think Texas high schools allow NIL and their kids are moving out of Texas to get NIL deals.
No. What?
Yeah, as high school like 5-star recruits or whatever. So like it's starting earlier and earlier, and it's like it's just putting so much pressure on like young kids to do well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I feel like
Yeah.
NIL really only applies to one sport, which is football. Because like for volleyball, for example, like as I said before, there's only two scholarship positions in volleyball. Like out of every single recruiting class, you can only give two scholarships in total for the team, right? So coaches need to play a balance. Like, do I like this guy's super good, but do I give a scholarship to him, right? Like, and for volleyball recruiting, men's volleyball is like much smaller than let's say football and basketball, right? So people who play really well. Like I have a friend here at Berkeley. Like he was recruited. Like he was recruited by Stanford. He was recruited by a ton of schools, but he ended up deciding not to play volleyball because he wanted to pursue academics instead of sports, right? So he didn't decide to end up taking an offer at Stanford. Or didn't continue talking with the coach at Stanford. But especially for smaller sports, I feel like recruiting gets really overlooked because success isn't guaranteed for smaller sports. And like obviously you can be like the top in the nation for swimming. But swimming there isn't a lot of money in swimming, right? Zach can confirm it. There isn't a lot of money unless like Michael Phelps, right?
It really actually I feel like it's getting bigger and bigger just because of the Olympics, but it's been nowhere near football, baseball.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, and it also depends. Like if you're talking college, depends on where you go. If you go to UVA, you're you're gonna get some money. But like if you go,
Exactly, yeah.
if you just go to some state school, it's not really as much.
Yeah,
You probably
exactly.
your
Like
tuition paid for.
people know, understand these risks when taking these. Like, do I want to pursue sports or is academics more of a priority for me? And a lot of people in volleyball are like thinking about that too because, a lot of, especially in the Bay Area, like we're pretty good at volleyball. Like there's a lot of top recruits here in Bay Area, but they're going to schools like D3 schools like MIT, and then going to schools like a good balance, academic and sports, to get recruited there because they want to pursue academics at the end of the day, and volleyball is just something they're also good at, right? So I think that's kind of gets overshadowed by like big sports like football and basketball and baseball. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, I just want to add a little bit on because there's some stuff about the high school recruiting process that I thought was gonna get mentioned, but ended up not getting mentioned.
All right.
But it's all right. They obviously know that they're a bit about recruiting, and that's obviously stuff that I didn't know about recruiting. But for high school recruitment, colleges basically have a scouting team are associated with their teams. Like and basically the colleges like they send these scouts out to track some of the largest like some of the some of the most I guess like promising prospects around the nation at whatever sport it is. I can probably say more closer to football and basketball are spending more on getting or on paying scouts or getting people on their scouting team to look at the best prospects around high school and just like that. And so scouts have to like travel like around the country just to see like like go to like a normal high school game just to see like one or sometimes in special cases maybe two players like play in a high school game. And that is a big thing about like high school recruiting. Like I think someone either Zach or Ivan mentioned that I think Zach mentioned that it is actually getting recruiting process is starting a lot earlier. I can say that that is definitely true. There or people, I guess like in general, like the age that you can start entering college football or just like even professional like sports is getting like it's getting you see younger players setting milestone after milestone like and this isn't related to like American sports but overseas for FC Barcelona we have 18 I think 17-year-old player Lamine Yamal who's been super popular and also helped Spain win the Euros and he's only 17 he's younger than us and so that's pretty like hard to imagine.
Thanks for bringing that up, man.
And then also in Alabama and Ohio State both have I think 18 or 17-year-old
17, right? The guy in Alabama was 17.
Ryan Williams and last name Smith I don't remember what his first name was.
Zach is so over this,
no,
man.
Jeremiah Smith. Okay, there we go. Okay. So but those two players are like it's insane how they're so young and they're already like setting like a ton of like records. And just going back to my point about like how high school recruitment is like, I mean, not even high school, like some athletes that do like club or like outside of like school, like academy, like type stuff on top of their school are starting to get recruited at middle school or eighth grade,
True.
which I think is which is very, very crazy. And I think the general trend with like recruiting process is that it is just starting a lot earlier. Like scouts will literally go around to watch like a player like play in just a random high school. They could be like a 17-year-old or 16-year-old player. They could even be as young as 13. Like to me, that's like pretty crazy, but it's a trend in sports. Like younger players are starting to set more milestones in sports, and I think some of the leagues are basically also like starting to allow more younger players to like start playing in their leagues. Like I'm not sure if at NCAA had like an age requirement before, but like if they did, well, then something's probably changed because like how can Ryan Williams play, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay, I think that's about time to wrap it up. But I think
this was way longer than 15 minutes as you said.
A great study break, guys. Like let's back to math.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyways, we'll wrap it up now. But if everyone enjoyed listening to this podcast, make sure to tune into our next episode, which we haven't decided yet when it will be, but hopefully it'll be soon, and hopefully someone other than me will be hosting the episode. But topic to be decided. But if you really enjoyed this one, make sure to tune in the next episode. All right, with that, how do I end this episode? Just end it.
Yeah.
Just end it.
It's our first episode. You can excuse us a little bit.
Okay, let's end.